Hello, Washington football team family, and welcome to another edition of the Washington Wrap. My name is Chad Ryan, and I'm your host, and this is a 10-minute single-issue format show where me and my co-hosts have to wrap up a single issue with a time limit. The clock is ticking, and today's issue is training camp. We are halfway through the Washington football team training camp for 2021. Today, the pads go on, so we're going to see a lot of good action in the coming days. We're really excited to break that down. But now that we're halfway through, we have seen a fair bit of action, and it's time to really take a moment to highlight what we've liked seeing and what we want to see a little bit more of. So in a moment, I'm going to start the clock. As I said, it's a 10-minute show. You're going to see a countdown clock. And myself and today's co-host, Robbie Duncan, are going to really dive straight into this. So let's start that clock and let's get into it. Robbie, welcome to the show. We're starting the clock. 10 minutes is up there. Here we go. I'm going to go first with what I've liked so far out of training camp. And it really starts and ends, as it always does in football, with the quarterback. And I'm going to start with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And the good signs that we're seeing out of Ryan Fitzpatrick in training camp so far, as we've noted already, the pads haven't been on yet. So the advantage has been with the defense, and we've seen some reports of that, with Chase Young and Montez Sweat really giving guys like rookie Sam Cosme a bit of a run for their money. So I'm keeping that in mind. But what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from training camp so far is that Fitzpatrick is already getting a good groove with guys like Adam Humphries, Terry McLaurin. We haven't seen Curtis Samuel yet because he's been on the COVID list. But, it's really good and really important to get these reps in, as many as you can right now in the early days of the season here in training camp for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And in fact, he said that this is the best situation he's ever been in to start a season. And considering the length of his career and the teams he's been on, that's quite a statement. And also, when you think about it, I don't think it's hyperbole. He really does have a good offensive line. He's got good weapons. He's going against a good defense, so it's really giving him an opportunity to hone his craft in these early sessions, even without the pads going on. Fitzpatrick is kind of exciting me. When Washington signed him, I had a little bit of cynicism about it. I knew that we'd have some fun games, but I also thought we'd probably see him benched at some point, and maybe there'd be a rookie drafted, and he'd be sort of helping a rookie, but that didn't eventuate. He's going to be our guy for this year. And I'm getting excited about it, Robbie. And also, something sort of blew my mind I saw on social media yesterday. He's been playing so long that early in his career, he was sacked by Sean Taylor. And that kind of blew my mind. He's been around for a long time, but I know Sean Taylor sadly passed away in 2007, but for me, 2007 feels like a long time ago now. And I didn't think there'd be too many guys in the NFL who'd gone up against Sean Taylor, and to hear that kind of blew my mind. But that's my positive takeaway so far, Robbie. What are you liking about Fitzpatrick? And then let's get into, what you are liking in training camp as well.
Yeah, he seems to be elevating the guys around him. We knew what we had in Terry McLaurin, but it seems like Terry is really kind of thriving and blossoming with Fitzpatrick throwing the ball. He's going against William Jackson every day in practice, and he's really outshining William Jackson right now from what I've been seeing and hearing. He is just going up and getting it and making William Jackson fight for everything. And it's both of those guys are getting better from that. And just seeing Terry making all these big plays in camp and really kind of having fun with it is awesome and really exciting for what he can do this season, and make you wonder about the potential accolades that could come with it, all pro Bowl, stuff like that. I think that what Fitzpatrick is, the style Fitzpatrick plays with, I don't see that being out of the realm of possibility for Terry. So that's really exciting to see. And just I think the big positive thing that's showing up is the depth of the receiving core in general. We got guys like DeAndre Carter that are really kind of making a name for themselves amongst a bunch of other more higher profile names on that roster. And you got Cam Sims, who Ron Rivera really goes out of his way to mention that, he always produces when he gets his chance. And they're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make. Are they going to keep 6 receivers? Are they going to keep 7? It's a good problem to have. And they got a lot of good playmakers that it's going to really kind of elevate this offense. So that's my big takeaway so far.
Yeah, really good one. And there's a few other guys in there that you didn't even mention that have had their share of highlights. So guys like Diami Brown. Still learning how to pronounce his name, but there's a lot of depth there. So that's a really good one. What else have you liked seeing in camp so far? What's jumping out to you?
You wanted to see the D line continue, build off of what they did last year and kind of really establish themselves as, one of, if not the best D line in the league. And by all accounts, they're taking that and running with it and making sure the offensive line knows about it. I think trash talk is the big takeaway as well. Montez Sweat seems to really have found his trash talk voice. And I check Twitter every day and I see another tweet about him talking smack to somebody on the offensive line, whether it's Cosme or the offensive line coach too. So that's good competition, makes guys play harder, and it's good friendly, trash talk to make guys, bring out the best in them. So
Just real quick, because you obviously
yeah.
played OL at ODU.
Mhm.
When defensive line guys trash talk the offensive line, what are they typically saying?
You can't block me, stuff like that, or that's not going to work, or just stuff like that to try to get in your head and make you false start maybe, or second question your kick step or stuff like that. Just things to throw you off, even more off of your technique and stuff like that.
Right. Fair enough.
But I
So
think another big takeaway, real quick, is the linebackers seem to be really kind of stepping up too. Cole Holcomb's been making plays. By all accounts I've seen, Jamin Davis is looking really good out there, very fast, sideline to sideline type speed, and Khaleke Hudson's getting some reps of the ones too. So that's good. If we can get all three of those guys out there, in at least in our base package, that's some good speed to have at linebacker. So I'm excited for what those guys are bringing too.
Cole Holcomb, living proof of the look good, feel good, play good mentality. That's that mullet haircut he's rocking is
Oh yeah,
just wonderful. Just great haircut. All right, so
yes,
3.5 minutes left. It's good that we've spent the majority of the time talking about what we like, but we do need to touch on a few things that we don't like. I'll start. Mine's probably low hanging fruit. I don't like that we're missing so many important guys to the COVID list. We know at this point, and we're seeing it around the league, especially in places like Minnesota, where they've lost their entire quarterback room. If you're vaccinated, it severely reduces the time you're away, even if you are a close contact of an infected person or something like that. Ron Rivera is talking about how disappointed he's been in terms of the vaccination rate of the players on the Washington football team. Thankfully, he also said it is trending in the right direction, and each day it looks like there's a couple more guys getting it. But he's also mentioned that there's a couple of guys who seem very set in their ways, and we know now with guys like Matt Ioannidis and Daron Payne, both on the list. How quickly it can go through specific units because of the way that they're spending time together in the practice room, in the film rooms, etc., and what a risk that can be. And we also know that at least going into training camp, and I haven't got specific updates on this, but going into training camp, 3 out of the 4 of the starting defensive line were not vaccinated. Several of their backups were not vaccinated. So just the risks and the vulnerabilities that come with that. Don't like that. Hope it changes, and glad to hear that it's trending up, because it's a huge risk going into this year in which Washington could be very, very competitive if we can have all our guys available.
yeah, and it's surprising somewhat because of how strict they were and how good they were with the protocols last year. They hardly
Mm.
any positives, but a negative that I've kind of picked up on and seems to be pretty consistent is, I mean, we touched on it before camp started, is Sam Cosme's development. They haven't had the pads on yet in these first few practices, and I think the pads come on today, so that will help him as well, because linemen need the pads on to really be able to do what they need to do. But from all accounts I've seen, Cosme's really getting all he can handle with that D line, and it may be concerning right now, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really good for him. Like we've said,
Mm.
he needs to go against these guys. He needs to sink. It's a basically sink or swim kind of mentality. You either improve and figure it out against the best of the best that's on your team, or you're not going to see the field, and then that's a different conversation to have for what we're going to do with you. But right now, this is really good for him. I believe he's going to be able to improve off this and be a better player for it, because he's got all the traits we've talked about. All his potential's through the roof. He just needs to get the seasoning in and really kind of hone in on his technique and how he uses his hands and footwork and all that stuff. And like we've said, this D line is the best D line to go against, and really figure that out. So it's not over. It's not code red or he's a bust. Anything like that, people.
It's a baptism by fire.
It is. He's learning, so just give it time.
Yeah. So it's not so much a negative as a room for improvement. Looking forward to see where it goes. And I couldn't agree more with that, because I think the future is bright for Cosme. It's just he's got pretty much the hardest orientation program anyone could have in the NFL, going against guys like Chase Young in his first ever training camp as a rookie. Look, we have beaten the clock. It's just ticked 0. I think we've done very well there, so we're going to wrap that up. But Washington football fans, training camp is halfway through. Preseason is around the corner. This Sunday we have the Hall of Fame game, and then we have football every single Sunday from then until February. It's so close. As my old co-host and good friend Mark Phillips used to say, there's 2 seasons. There's waiting for football and there's football season. We are on the precipice of the switchover, and that's so exciting. And we'll be here at the Washington Wrap every step of the way. So you can see my Twitter handle and Robbie's Twitter handle under our faces here. Mine is at ChadwicoTWW. Robbie's is at Robbie Duncan OL. And down the bottom of if you're watching this video on Twitter or on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram, you'll also see some links to other socials. You can get this in podcast form on Spotify, everywhere else you get podcasts, Apple, Google, etc. You can also, as I mentioned, get this everywhere on every social media platform. Just search the Washington Wrap, and it'd be really appreciated if you subscribed or followed or liked or retweeted or whatever it is to follow us and to support us. Robbie, always a pleasure talking Washington football with you. Fans Likewise. Out there listening and watching, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you in a few days.